Hi everybody, my name is Bryce. Welcome back to my TED Talk. Today I'm going to be doing a quick video on my book report. The book that I did for my book report was In the Time of the Butterflies. It was written by Julia Alvarez. Oh, these are backwards. Don't mind this. In the Time of the Butterflies was written by Julia Alvarez, and it takes place in the Dominican Republic, which reminds me a lot of another book that focuses on the same time period called The Farming of the Bones, which is by Edwidge Danticat. These two books, again, they focus on what's currently going on in the time. We're focused on the Dominican Republic and Haiti in the times between 1930 to 1960. During that time, that's actually when Rafael Trujillo was in control of the Dominican side of the island. So yeah, he was in control from 31 to 60. In the Time of the Butterflies kind of takes place or is based around the lives of the Mirabelle sisters, and that's between 38 and they get killed in 1960, which kind of sparks Trujillo's assassination in the same year. Um, and Farming of the Bones takes place in 1937, which is the same year as the Parsley Massacre. Those who don't know, the Parsley Massacre was, well, let me just first set the tone. Um, we learned through our textbooks that, or like through our studying, that Haiti had gained its independence in 1804. One of the first free black states like ever in the Caribbean. Like I think, yeah, this is the first free state for black people, which is a pretty monumentous occasion. So since 1804, um, blacks and any slaves are freed in Haiti. That being said, there were plenty of opportunities and reasons that people would want to leave Haiti and move to the Dominican Republic. So you saw between 1804 and 1930, you saw the migration of people looking for better opportunities over on the Dominican side. Because just because slavery was over in Haiti didn't mean that sugar plantations stopped working the way that they did. So there was still sugar farming in Haiti. There was sugar farming in the DR. It just wasn't classified as slavery for the people working those fields. Um, that being said, they still had very harsh conditions. So you see a migration of people moving to DR. Um, I'll start with the Farming of the Bones since it's an earlier date and is based around the Parsley Massacre. As you see this influx of black people into the Dominican Republic, there was a sentiment of hate towards the Haitians that were moving in. The Dominicans saw the Haitian people as less than, just a common like colorism kind of thing. Um, so yeah, Trujillo spread this message and spread this image that Haitians are terrible people and that they need to be rid of. So right along the border of Haiti and the Dominican Republic, we saw Trujillo order the execution of like over 35,000 Haitian men and women along in this area, in this border. All throughout the Dominican Republic, black people were being wrangled up and put in jail or just killed on the spot, just for the color of their race, the color of their face, their race, the color of their face. Um, so yeah, the Farm of the Bones takes place during the Parsley Massacre. Um, it's the main character is named Annabelle, and you kind of see her fight is a fight for survival. I have that up here. She's fighting for survival throughout the whole thing. She's fighting for just the ability to be alive, which is a lot more visceral of uh, a feeling, I think, than going on in the Time of the Butterflies. In the Time of the Butterflies, we see the Mirabelle sisters fighting for justice. Can they were around after the Parsley Massacre, so they didn't directly see it, and that's kind of part of the book as well, that they don't know at first what's going on in Trujillo's regime, but over time they start to understand that these people are being targeted, that even the Dominican people on their island, the fair-skinned people that talk about Trujillo, they're being targeted, and so they're trying to fight for justice. They're fighting for their livelihood a little bit. That you see some of the other characters being taken away by Trujillo's regime, but it's not as direct and as just as visceral as the Farming of the Bones. You see the forces coming in mass to take these people away. So in the farming of the butterflies, in the time of the butterflies, you see a lot more of a justice push. You see Minerva going to school and really trying to fight Trujillo's regime from the inside. Um, and it takes people from both of these camps to finally end the rule of Trujillo. So you see people literally fighting to stay alive. You see the Haitian people in the Dominican Republic just fighting to be alive. And then you have the Mirabal sisters fighting for justice. And as that conflict continues, it starts to escalate and gain more noise and more traction and starts to reach other countries and starts to get to a point where, as a whole, the world's like, all right, we gotta get rid of Trujillo, and he's assassinated in 1960. That was really kind of the catalyst for that date. The Mirabal sisters, these three sisters, they were assassinated by Trujillo in 1960, which really sparked a visceral reaction. The 35,000 Haitian people that died didn't do enough in 1937, but these three fair-skinned people, it kind of wakes up, it kind of opens the eyes of everybody else in DR and everybody else that's fair-skinned around the world. They start to see like, oh, okay, you know, pretty young women are being killed for this guy's, tyranny. He's just fucking, he wants to control everything. Women are dying. We didn't care about the slaves, but pretty women are dying. And that can't be allowed. You can't have white women just dying out of nowhere. Um, so yeah, I think these two books really create a nice beginning and end bookend for what's going on in actual history. Both of these books are historical fictions. So they're based on real events. Like the Parsley Massacre was a very real thing. Um, the Mirabal sisters were a very real family. They probably lived somewhere over here, not as close to Haiti. Um, but yeah, that's kind of a amalgamation. What are words? That's kind of an analysis of the two books that I read and comparing it to historical events at the time that these books are based on. Two other things that I have written on here, I just noticed that there were a lot of references to sugar and parsley in the Farming of the Bones. The main character's love interest was a sugar, like a plantation worker, and he was on the run from, he was trying to escape the place that he was working at. Again, was slavery over? Yeah, slavery. There was no slavery at the time, but the working conditions for people working any kind of crop in this area was still awful for black people. So a lot of mention of sugar and of course parsley. Parsley is one of the main herbs in Haiti. It's highly celebrated, and when they had the Parsley Massacre, there's a lot of themes in the Farming of the Bones. They refer to like the river was running red and green with parsley and blood. So there's a heavy influence of parsley and sugar in this book. And in the Time of the Butterflies, you see the family owns a yucca farm, and I kind of just threw mango up there because I know my Dominicans love their mango. So yeah, that's a brief history. What went on, the foods that I saw, anti-Haitianismo is that's the feeling of the Haitians being less than the Dominicans. And yeah, I think it's a really important timepiece. Just from 1804 all the way to 1960, there's a lot going in there. Um, One thing else I want to mention, we know that we had the French that invaded the west side of the islands because it was like inhabited. It wasn't like as focused on by the Spanish, so the Spanish focused more on this side, and that's why we have like a split down the middle. This was the French side, this was the Spanish side. The blacks on the French side fought for their freedom and got their freedom first, and you see the migration. But yeah, that's all mentioned in the beginning of the video. So yeah, thanks for the TED Talk.